It's such an honor to be here. It's such an inspiring conference, right? Yes. Hello, my name is Dina Amin. Dina, okay? Not Dina. Big difference. I really, really, really hate capital Ds. Might not be a very satisfying answer for everyone, but it's something about their proportion. To me, it's not a really bold letter like an O, which is really round. It's like a bit round, a bit straight, really like a wannabe letter. And normal people tell me you're crazy, but my designer friends, they argue with me and they tell me, how come the D is such a fancy letter? And I tell them, no, the D is a really mean letter because when I see it written next to the other little letters, this is what I actually see. Oh, we just. Yeah, here it is. I see a grumpy letter shooing away all the little ones. And then there are those who tell me, no, the D is a happy letter. It's the happy face from the emoji. Do you see it coming? It will never happen. I really, really hate capital Ds. And this is something that I occasionally found myself doing. I look at things and imagine them coming to life. But for the last 3 years, this is all what I've been doing. I accidentally started a stop-motion project on Instagram called Twinkle Friday, where I show people what's inside the things that they throw away. It's a project that went on for like a year and a half, and it's where I combined my love for product design, my found new love for stop-motion animation, and my views on consumerism. And my goal today is to show you things that you've never seen before. So let's see. Have you seen this before? It's one of those mobile pouches that they were an accessory some years ago. It still exists until now, but it's thrown away somewhere completely useless. And this is what's inside. Have you seen a mobile pouch? Thank you. Thank you. Have you seen a mobile pouch transform into a super lady before? Yes? No? OK. Then I achieved my goal. So I didn't really know what I was doing when I started. I didn't even know anything about animation. I didn't have a camera. I studied product design. And all I really knew, the basic idea of stop motion is that you take photos and you move things and you spend hours and hours doing that. And this is what I did. I taped my phone to my table and just spent. All I wanted to do is get my ideas out of my head and into the world. So how did I really start all this thinking? I've been doing this for a year and a half, 2 years now. And of course, I didn't wake up one day and decide, oh, I want to take products apart for the rest of my life. No, this is not what happened. I wasn't even an animator. I didn't know anything about stop motion. I studied industrial design in Malaysia. And I really loved product design, and I loved how I can make something that people can interact with and something that can solve a problem. But I also hated a big part of product design, that in the real world, actually, most of the things that we design end up being thrown away. Especially in a country like Egypt, where I'm from, where most of the products we get are cheap, low-quality products that barely work for even a month, and then they end up being in trash just because their low cost and low price fits a huge market need. So this is a scrap market, one of the many scrap markets in Egypt. This is in Mbaba in Cairo. And there you'll find all kinds of things that people throw away. Literally, most if not all of these were collected from garbage bins. But regardless of how product design was in the real world, I did graduate from product design. I moved back to Egypt. I worked a bit in product design. Then I shifted from a place to a place and from a company to a company. And I was like, it's OK. I'm going to explore. I'm going to find the one thing, my passion, and one day I'll just stumble upon it, and I'll be happy doing what I want to do. but this day never came. It's been 4 years, and I found myself in the strangest job that did not fit me at all. I was working, okay, so in product design, if you don't find, which is usually the case, if you don't find a job as a product designer, you end up doing graphic design. And what graphic designers mostly do in Egypt is manage social media. And what social media managers actually do is answer Facebook messages. So, so I found myself, I was working at one of my friends' shop, which I really love. They design handmade fashion wear in Egypt. But I was answering all these messages that women send at 2 a.m. asking me what should they buy, which one, the red blouse or the blue blouse. And I'm like, you should sleep, not asking me about fashion. I was like, how did this happen? How did I end up here? This is not what I want to do at all. And I decided I'm going to fix this now. I'm not going to stay, like, it's been 4 years already, and I haven't found this thing. What if I never find it? And I'm like, what if I never find it? What if I never find it because it doesn't exist? And what if it doesn't exist because no one started yet, and I'm wasting all this time searching for it when I'm meant to start it? So I got really excited about this, and I decided that I want to find this thing. And I literally, this is what I do when I try to find answers. I get out a pen and paper, and I wrote down, OK, things that I would love to do. So I wrote, like, I want it to be something that is product design related. I want to solve a problem. I want, since I'm in Egypt and I see all these problems, I want it to be something that people can relate to, that can make people happy, make their lives better. I want to also not be broke while doing it, so I want to make, like, not a lot of money, but, it's nice to have food and stuff. So. So I was like, okay, I want to find this, these simple ideas that are so obvious and you don't see them. And then I look at this paper, and it had like 14 criteria for this really simple thing that I want to find. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. So I decided, okay, I'm going to really make it simple, and I'm going to pick only one thing on this paper that means the most to me. And this was something that I would do no matter what, that if I had time to only do this thing, I would only do that. And it was so obvious when I did this. It was literally in front of me. So I was sitting then, we were moving houses, and I was sitting in my old and now empty bedroom, and I had this one box in front of me, one that I collected all these broken products from markets and from friends. And I looked at this box, and I was like, you know what? If I would do only one thing for the rest of my life, it would be taking products apart. And I was like, okay, it's literally in front of me. I was like, okay, I'm not going to think of how I'm going to turn this into a career. I'm not going to think of how will this solve a problem. It might solve a problem, but I'm not going to think of where this will lead, if it's going to make people happy or not. And of course, when I told this to my parents, they were very, very happy about my decision. In Egypt, I don't know about here, but in Egypt, we live with our parents until we get married, so they are part of our life. It's not like they don't know what we do. So I remember when I told this to my dad, that I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to spend my time just taking products apart. I have no idea where this will lead, but I want to do it. He was very concerned, of course, like any parents. He told me, yeah, but you can work in this multinational companies, work in a big company. And my mom, who's sitting here, and she'll probably kill me after this, but Mama. By the way, my mom is really funny, She, you can't even get upset when she says things because she's really funny. So, of course, my mom was worried about my social life, and I would imagine you understand what this means. So, see, she's like that now. Okay. So in Egypt, we have this, I remember she told me this one day, we have this thing they say in Egypt. So when a girl reaches 30 and she's not married yet, they say that she missed the train. And I remember my mom when she told me like, oh, so you'll be sitting in your room, not seeing anyone, not working in a company, and doing all this all alone. You're not gonna meet anyone. She told me, Dina, you're not even at the station. انتيش في المحطة أصلاً. You can't be mad. Like, I just kept laughing. But it was true. But you know, missing an imaginary train was not one of the criteria. So I decided I'm really going to commit to this. Weekends in Egypt where I didn't quit my job yet. I had the weekend to work on. And weekends in Egypt were Friday. So I decided every single Friday I'm going to pick one of these products. I'm going to take it apart and see where this leads. I love documenting my projects, so I decided that I'm going to document this whole thing on Instagram because I also had a bit of a fear of the internet. Like, I always saw the importance of putting your work out there, but I really didn't want anyone to see it. And I didn't use Instagram then. I had no idea what's going on there. I was like, Instagram is for selfies and travel photos. No one would want to see this. So I was like, perfect. So I made an account and I started putting all these photos of products. And I got to research about every single product, learn how it works, what was inside, why was it usually broken, how can we fix it, do we actually need it in the first place or not. And I did this for like a month, just taking still photos until one weekend, I took apart this shaver, and it was incredible to me how all the parts came together. It was like an absolute puzzle, and I thought, you know what, just one photo doesn't do it any justice. And I remember this thing called stop motion. Like, I've seen movies like Coraline and all these movies. So I decided to give it a try. So I took out my phone, I took like hundreds of photos, made like a 1-minute video, and then I put it on Instagram, and of course I can't upload it because back then Instagram only allowed 15 seconds video or something like that. So I literally go to Google and write stop motion video too long. And then I find this, I know. By the way, I was so proud when I first did this. I was like, wow, I did magic. But anyways, I found this thing called frame rate. I didn't even know what frame rate was. I was like, okay. So in stop motion, it's usually done on 12 frames per second or 24 frames per second on something called 1 or 2s. And this means that if I want to move my arm from here to here, and this movement takes 1 second, then if I'm gonna do it 12 frames per second, I need 12 different photos of my arm moving. So I was like, okay, there's a lot about stop motion that I didn't know of, apparently. Okay, I like that. I want to learn more about it. So I decided to do this every single week. I would take a product and animate it coming apart. And week by week, I started seeing things differently. So I started seeing faces in the pieces and making characters. And I did this consistently every single Friday for a year and a half. And the more I did it, the more my characters became more elaborate. My stories became more complicated. So the latest one I did, this is the latest object I took apart. I did this one last year. And it's also the first object that I remember taking apart. So I remember as a kid, I always used to pull their eyes out because I wanted to know how they close their eyes. And this is what's inside the doll head. So I made so many videos, like over 35 videos or something over the past 2 years. And every time I would do one, someone would tell me, oh, we've never imagined there were so many parts inside, even for the objects and the products that they use on a daily basis. And that made me think maybe it's easier for us to throw something away when we consider it as one whole object and not like 100 pieces. So I continued doing this, and I wanted to be consistent about it, so I asked. Then there were like very few people who started seeing my videos and following along. So I asked them I want to name it, and someone said maybe Tinker Project, because this is what you do a bit. And someone else said Explosive Fridays. I like the Friday part because I wanted to be really consistent about it, but I wanted to stay away from this word explosives, because imagine Googling my name, Dina Amin, Explosive Fridays. I will never get a visa again, so no way. So that's what I did. So this is an analog plug timer. How many pieces do you think are made up of this? Shout out numbers. No, this is too, coming from, yeah, he knows, this is why. Sorry? 20? No, that's too little. No, higher. Higher. Higher, no. Okay, it's 156. So for this one, thank you. I saw earlier that weekend a video that Disney made on YouTube, and they explained how they use a multiplane machine where they animate things separately on separate glass layers. And I wanted to try that, but I didn't have this. I had a piece of glass in our living room table that I took out. I put on some wooden sticks and made that setup, and it worked. I finished, put it back. And it's probably the first time that my mom is seeing this, what happens in my studio. So I had a lot of fun making all these characters, and I would share them on Instagram, and actually ask people to name them, and they would come up with very, very creative names. So this is Pearl. She knits her eyes out. And this is Fast and Furious. This is Casata von Dancing Parts. And it was a real challenge because it was like a creative exercise, because every single Friday I had to do this. I had no idea what was the product I'm going to pick. I had no idea what was inside. I had no idea what I'm going to make. It was just all like on the spot, and I was forcing myself to do it. And I'm going to tell you now how I got these ideas. So these are all parts inside a pocket camera, and this is what I do. So I'd pick a product, take it apart, lay it all down, and just stare at it for like hours until I see something that makes me laugh. This is literally what I did, not very sophisticated process, but if you come to this part of the process, this is what you'll see, me staring at things, maybe like literally changing some, like looking at it from different angles, but this is what I did. So some of my ideas are just random funny things I see in my head, and some of them are influenced by questions that I've been trying to find an answer so long, or I've been thinking about. So this is what's inside a hairdryer. Thank you. So the internet turned out to be an awesome place. I got to share my ideas with so many people that connected with my ideas, and I also got to meet interesting people as well. So this is Doro that I got to meet on Instagram. She's my Instagram friend. And last year, I actually got to meet her in real life. We used to collaborate online before, but last year, I got to actually see her in Hamburg, in Germany. I went to a stranger woman in her house. I stayed with her 1 week, and we played together with trash. So very cool friendship. So during these 3 years, it was starting okay. I was doing what I really love, but most of the problem, it wasn't like a really straight, no problem-free 3 years. No, it was not this at all. But most of my problems had to do with this one world title. So when I first started, I really didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't really a product designer because I was actually breaking products, not making them. And I wasn't also a stop-motion animator. I wouldn't call myself that because I didn't know anything about animation. I was just moving things. And it really bothered me whenever anyone would ask me. I don't know what to answer. And then second one was that people started calling me an artist. Some of these problems, I've got over them. Some of them, I'm still struggling with and finding an answer. I studied design, and I'm a designer a bit at heart, so it was still hard a bit for me to become and pass the borders and become an artist, but maybe I am, maybe I'm not. But it made me think, why should I be just one thing? What if I want to be a product designer and an artist and an engineer and this, maybe a chef one day, who knows? But why do we always have to be just one thing? Why can't we do just whatever we want to do? So yeah. So I decided to drop titles. It's still, people in this conference, everyone is going to ask you, oh, so what do you do? And I'm gonna probably ask you this as well, but But at this point in my tinkering life, I can now call myself a stop-motion animator. I actually started a stop-motion studio because I have to do also work that pays the bills. So it was fun and all, taking things apart. But 6 months in, I actually started getting jobs, and I was like, okay, now I really need, if I want to continue to do this and have a stop-motion studio and stop making things with my phone, because I need it. People call me, so I need a camera and all this. So I started taking all these jobs and doing all this commercial work, which was very different than what I was doing. And only a few months ago that I decided the following, because the first year, and this is very hard to admit here, and I'm gonna just say this quickly. The first year was going really well. I was getting a lot of jobs, but then this is the struggle also that maybe some of you are having. Then you get to do all this work that is basically me just spinning bottles for ads, and you don't get to do all the other good job, like the creative, crazy things that you want to do, all your ideas. And you get this because you make this, but you're making this so you don't have time to do this anymore, so you don't get this anymore, and you're like, so what do I do now? So I decided I'm gonna hustle and I'm gonna embrace it. Can I get a few minutes more? Yes, okay. So I decided, okay, now I'm at a stage and I'm really working on my animation skills, and I call myself stop-motion animator now. One of the, like, if someone asks me, like, really wants an answer. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna do a show reel. I'm gonna send it to all the agencies in Egypt and send it everywhere and spam everyone. And I got all my commercial work that I did that I don't even share online because I don't want it. But I put it all in, like, and I was gonna do my show reel, and I sat there and I'm like, I really don't want to do this. I don't even want, like, it's my show reel. It's the first show reel that I'll show to people, and is this what I really want to show? And I found myself just erasing all these files, and I made a totally different show reel with some, I'm not gonna show you because it's too long, but I encourage you to go see it because I sing in it for 2 minutes. Yeah. But I'm going to show you parts of it. So this is also another accidental series that I've started called Glue Life. And this year, I wanted to work on my animation skills more. So I want to do more complex sets. I still work with things that I collect from the market. And it's basically a reflection of my life. It's based on true stories. So this is titled In Every Job you know Mary Poppins, right? Yes, okay. I love Mary Poppins.
In every job that must be done, there is an element of fun. You find the fun, and snap! The job's a game.
A job is a job.
Yeah. It's like a bit of therapy to me. I'm obviously the second one. Yeah. Yeah. So, and this is the second one, titled When I Try to Put My Life Together. So it's a never-ending loop. So this basically... Yeah, I know. Thank you. So this sums up my 2019. So I really never imagined that I would be doing stop-motion animation. I enjoy doing all things from trash, so I continued doing this. Maybe it's not only, I wouldn't only do stop-motion animation. Maybe I would be like doing 3D illustration. Maybe, I don't know, I'd be selling my characters. Who knows what I can do, but it's very limiting when I just say I am this thing. No, I want to do anything I want to do, really. So when I started getting over this problem, it opened up so many possibilities, and I have all these things that I collect, and I want to do something with them, and I really like mechanical toys and automata, so I decided I want to build one, and I want to build a really simple one. This is some of my prototypes. And I build them all from things that I collect, trash pieces, straws, cartons. This some of my trials. Pieces and glasses like screws and name tags and feathers were packaging material. Toothbrushes, nails that I shape, pens. Anything really that I find. I don't throw away anything. I'm gonna move on and show you the final one. So I wanted to do one that flies, but it was very ambitious for my first trial. So he attempts to fly. doesn't completely fly, but he attempts to. So, and my followers on Instagram named him Icarus, which was very fitting. So I continued doing this, tinkering with objects and creating whatever I wanted, and this is the best thing that I've created so far. It makes me so happy. So you haven't seen it yet. So I had all these hair dryers, and I always wanted to make a mini version of the tube man, the arm flailing, dancing, air dancing. I can't even remember the name. It's like a whole thing. And I made one. And it's so, it just, whenever I'm down or something, I put it and I'm like, ah. Yeah. So I really have no idea what I'm going to do next. I love doing stop-motion animation. I love tinkering with objects. And yes, it hasn't been easy. It's a bit difficult. And maybe sometimes my thoughts get me to thinking that maybe it's more difficult because I'm based in Egypt. I'm going to be really honest. Like, of course, there are a lot of differences, a lot of advantages if I was based somewhere else. But whenever I go to that trail of thought, I ask myself this question. I ask myself, how big is my fishbowl? So there's this expression, they say, like a fish out of water, which means that you're uncomfortable in unfamiliar environments. And we have something similar in Egypt, but it's a bit more realistic, because a fish out of water is not uncomfortable. A fish out of water dies. So we say in Egypt, I'm like a fish out of water, I'll die. So whenever I have this kind of thoughts, I keep asking myself, how big is my fishbowl? How uncomfortable am I to do something? And is there actually a fishbowl? Like, in our very connected world right now, like, look at me, like, I'm in India showing you about all my broken products. Like, it doesn't make any sense, but we're in this whole world. And is there really a fishbowl that is Egypt, or is there a fishbowl that is like Africa, or is it my fishbowl as big as the whole world, and I can connect to anyone I can? It's not just about countries and spaces. It could be languages. It could be like Stefan, who was not only limited by his language, but explored other languages as well. So his fishbowl is not just his own language, but he understands that he lives in a whole wide world, that he can explore anything and he can do anything. So it could be a material, it could be a space, a country, it could be a medium, it could be a field of interest, it could be anything really. So whenever I find myself not really doing anything, or like being scared of things, I ask myself, so how big is your fishbowl? Because your fishbowl is actually as big as the whole universe. So this is it for me. Thank you so much. Thank you.